Hi guys and welcome back to the channel We the Demigods Motivational. So here we are going to start with artificial intelligence for students. This is an introduction of sort and you might be wondering how the world has moved into technology adaptation. Imagine it's 1985 and you have never used a computer, or it's 1995 and you've never heard of the internet, or it's 2005 and you've never seen a smartphone before. Think how important these things have become. Today, artificial intelligence can be used in anything with a battery and is impacting all our lives at work, at home, or even at play. With the generation change, if you're not familiar with AI, what AI is, how it works, or what it can accomplish, you're gonna be left behind. This is a moment in time when the people who embrace new tools and methods are going to be much more prepared to get ahead. I'm going to give you a practical understanding of AI where you're using it already, how you might use it personally or in business, and how you might even come up with a new ways of putting AI to use that others haven't even thought about yet. With these ever changing trends, whatever it is you're going to do, I want you to be one with the automobile while everyone else is riding horses. I want you to understand this powerful tool called artificial intelligence while others are still scratching their heads and trying to figure things out. If you want to be thought of as knowledgeable rather than glueable, educated rather than alluvious, insightful rather than obtuse, please know that knowledge of artificial intelligence is added to your resume. Artificial intelligence is a fast growing field right now across the whole world. While we're at it, let's see what is not artificial intelligence. Great science fiction that has nothing to do with the world as it is. Skynet from Terminator, iRobot, Cortana in Halo. The list of cyborg villains is long and it confuses the convention about what artificial intelligence is and what it can do. In theory of general artificial intelligence, that machines will eventually learn enough that one day they'll wake up and become conscious. It gets a lot of attention because it's sensational. The theory seems logical. We can write code and build systems that can see and hear and talk, systems that can make lightning fast decisions, systems that can drive cars and win video games, and full of proteins. These things are amazing, so it doesn't seem likely that when they can do all these things, eventually they will put two and two together and start thinking for themselves. It may seem so, but actually, that's not the case. While we are at it, let's see the difference between fictional AI and functional AI. Doesn't it seem likely that we can build machines that can imitate people so well that they are indistinguishable from other living creatures who, by the way, are far smarter than we are? Or maybe that may not be the case. It may seem so with AI, but the answer is no. Haven't we created enough computer power that eventually all of these amazing systems will reach out and connect together across the internet and gain consciousness? Again, no. Humans are so much more complicated than that. The most important thing to know about AI is this: there is general AI, which is the stuff of science fiction, and there is narrow or functional AI, which is the stuff of science fact. The stuff we are actually building and putting to use. I wanted you to fully understand this difference so you'll be confident in your conversations and you will become creative in your problem solvings. As seen before, the human brain is the most complex thing in the entire universe. More than 100 billion neurons and 1,000 trillion synapses, and we still will have trouble figuring out how it works, much less figuring out what the mind is. Okay, but what about neural networks? Aren't they built like human brain, yet are much more powerful? No, they're not. Neural networks were designed after a concept of how we think the brain might work. Let's take an example, like the same way you might try to build an aeroplane based on birds flapping its wings. It seems like that's how flight works, but that isn't actually the case. It wasn't until we figured out aerodynamics that we understood how the shape of the wing is what makes flight possible. Today, we don't really know how the mind works, so we can't actually recreate it as it is. Scientists come up with a theory of neurons and symphysis, and we build simple, clumsy artificial neuron network based on that theory. And you know what happened? We ended up with creating a new kind of software, a much more powerful kind of software that we have ever had before for solving certain types of problems. But it doesn't work anywhere near as well as human mind. We simply don't have the technology we might need to make a self-aware machine. And today data scientists know enough to keep that from happening. We do have a new tool that is capable in ways that we are only just beginning to harness, and that is what we refer to when we talk about specialized tasks or functional AI. And now you can have a rational conversation about AI without getting sidetracked into science fiction. Be one of the people that embraces these new tools. It will help your career and might even help you when you make the world a better place to live in. Artificial intelligence has had a few false starts, but it's flourishing now. When you understand why it has had its ups and downs and how the pieces have come together, you'll have a better understanding of the bare bones of how it works and be able to make a more informed case for pursuing artificial intelligence. With this, let us see the history of artificial intelligence. Alan Turing published a paper back in 1950 called Computing, Machinery and Intelligence, and it was all in theory. If computers could run fast enough and if there was enough data, then maybe maths would work like this. The term artificial intelligence was coined in 1956 at a conference. Between then and the mid 1970s, venture capital was thrown at artificial intelligence, and that's when we discovered that it was much harder than what we thought. But three things came together around the turn of this century that made AI possible: video games, an avalanche of data, and collaboration on steroids. Google and Yahoo figured out how to link together huge numbers of computers, central processing units, or CPUs, giving us massively parallel computing. All of these compute streams happening at the same time. And the gaming industry played a crucial part here because they had manufactured graphical processing units or GPU specifically for rendering graphics in games, which were much faster. The US military figured out early on that they could make use of these. They wired together 1,500 X boxes to create this miniature supercomputer to run war game simulations. Data scientists looked at this and saw how massively parallel GPUs could solve the AI compute problem. The next major breakthrough came from explosive growth in the amount of data we have on our fingertips. Megabytes and gigabytes just don't cut it. We need terabytes and petabytes of data for AI to chew on. And now we have that thanks to the internet. The internet also gave us giant leaps forward in online data storage, the cloud. Not only did we have a huge amount of data to play with, there was finally a place to store it all and access it easily. The last piece of puzzle that was the whole open source movement. When software is published openly, everyone can make improvements, speeding the process. Because of the open source philosophy, the majority of research into AI has been freely published for everybody to study and improve on. Now, you all might be wondering why Google, Microsoft, IBM, Amazon, and a lot more of these have made AI tools and access to data all but free. Well, the answer is it is in order to encourage the world to publish this technology forward. Put all these together, and you can now run AI programs on your phone, on your wristwatch, and that's just the beginning. So, if you're considering whether you should pursue artificial intelligence as a visible career path, a general incompetent more AI into your workflow, you can confidently say that yes, the time has come for it to soar high in the sky. Now I keep on repeating saying it's artificial intelligence. But what exactly is intelligence? Let's first find out the word intelligence. And there are many ways of defining this, like consciousness and perception and institution and instinct. Each of these words are further filled with more concepts that are just as poorly defined. AI is the same. When somebody says artificial intelligence, they might be referring to one of many types of algorithms solving lots of different problems. The term artificial intelligence can cover a lot of ground, and I wanted to see how different categories of AI fit underneath that big, huge, massive umbrella. This field is barely 70 years old, and we barely scratched the surface in terms of what is possible, what we can achieve. Since this is one of the fastest moving field right now, getting into this right away is how we can grow, is going to take over the world and industries very soon. In AI, we have an intelligent helping hand, and we already have computers and software programs that are making our lives much more easier. With this, we have completed the introduction of AI. Notice, people, I said introduction. This series is still going to continue. Anyway, please do continue watching this interesting AI series which we are going to move forward with. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do like, share, and subscribe. And let's get our cool glasses on while we're at it, while we enjoy this new ride.